the Senna ban I was calling for, you and I were discussing, is going to come through here on red side. We'll see what that final ban here for T1 will end up being. Again, the Zyra, not a huge issue here necessarily. You know, they had problems with it in the early game, but they were able to circumvent it. This is a ban I'd rather see. And
oh, yeah.
The Camille was so pivotal in setting up some of those fights, locking Faker down on Baron, and is once again going to be Knight going over to the Corki. Let's see what T1 have in mind this time around. I think the Tristana obviously is a given, but this time, as you mentioned, Owner won't be able to go back to the Sejuani. Looks like they're going to take the Zyra away themselves here from Xun.
Yeah, that's actually a big one. Owner hasn't really been much on the Zyra hype train, but it has certainly been picking up steam in the LCK, so obviously has been putting a fair bit of time into it. Xun, just wondering what his flavor of AP damage is going to be, cycling through quite a few options before he does decide, and we'll see what it is going to be, as Xun's Nidalee is pretty famous, and this time around, there is a Renekton that they could pick up alongside it. We'll see whether they do go for the old favorite.
Yeah, that's definitely a strong pick they could go for here. Would just have their top side locked up and make the rest of the draft pretty simple to execute on. We'll see if they do commit to that, though, because there's a lot of trade-offs of picking this Renekton early. You could try to protect it in the draft, but Zeus will have the opportunity to counterpick right away. So, going to be the Ashe that's open really here rarely, but it is going to come through. Locked in for Elk now, very likely. Could be played in support, but not too much these days. So that's going to be some guaranteed lockdown for a Spear, at least when we're setting up for objectives. And the follow-up damage will be there.
I like it. I also think that that adds to the amount of setup available as far as this Nidalee is concerned. So gives you another avenue with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow coming on through there. Then you can easily land your spears and get in amongst it.
The Ezreal pick, I feel, is still quite strong in this position.
Oh, Jhin.
Jhin. Now, this is, if you're a T1 fan, this has always been a pick that's made you grip your chair a little tighter.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those, like, I'm holding on real tight here, Wolf, here in the caster booth.
It does fit with the Zyra, you know, in terms of the setup they have, and in double 80 carry metas like this, you don't have to rely on Jin's damage output as much necessarily. It can help you secure picks, help you secure those resets for the Tristana, but a very risky pick. But given the Nidalee pick and how there's not that much hard engage to get onto the Jhin right now, it's one of the safest places you could pick it in the draft.
No, I would agree. And I'm just hoping that it's not picked alongside a Yuumi. That's the only thing that I ask, and I have a feeling that that is not going to happen. It's also not going to be picked alongside a Leona, because Kerio was fantastic on that pick in game number 1, even though he went a little bit more ham than we could have otherwise assumed. It still was very, very pivotal in locking down these key targets. So we'll see what is actually going to be left up as far as the support pool is concerned. I kind of assume that Kerio is going to be able to have access to support counterpick, but with Bin being so scary, there aren't very many safe picks.
There really aren't.
That Zeus can go for, so maybe they have to pick it on 4.
The Cassante feels safe, I think, in a lot of situations where you have this second ban phase to kind of protect it or lead into it, because they're going for the Blitzcrank and the Nautilus, the scary engage, you know, supports many of them that still exist here to take out this Jhin. You do kind of have to pay that tax. The Cassante, though, the safest pick we could have seen, ends up being banned right away. So,
ooh, Big Bad Brad.
Okay, well, this is a classic, the Jhin Bard bottom lane.
I like this more than Jhin Yuumi, Wolf.
Yeah? I do too, but it is still, you know, giving you a little bit of feeling of, will this work out in theory? You can set up the Zyra so incredibly well with Bard, and there's so many cool angles you can take with a magical journey to get her into a flank. The Rakan felt like it was going to be pretty obvious considering they'd banned the Leona. Nautilus is already taken away, and they took Cassante instead of going for another support ban, so that one felt pretty easy, and it's very strong into Jhin. And this feels pretty safe here, going for Jax. You already have setup for the Jax. You can follow up Counter-Strike. You've got the arrow. You've got the Rakan ult. Great to set up Nidalee as well in the top lane. So it's also safe into Twisted Fate, for example, that we've seen Zeus play so many times. The Jace could be a really cool callback.
It needs to be Gragas, Wolf. It needs to. It has to be Gragas,
right? I mean, he's hovering a G champion here in Gangplank, so pretty decent chance, but that's the safest pick he could have in this. Suits the damage profile as well. The double 80 carry. Sure, you've got an AP jungle, but Gragas is so safe, but he's really hovering this GP.
Yeah, just keeping his eye on it. Na is not a G champion, even though it starts with G in the English language, so he's going to skip all the way over there. So it's going to be Na locked in. Definitely one of Zeus' best champions, was his debut champion, in fact, when he started on T1. So going to be taking that against the Jax this time around. I personally am a little bit Gragas biased as far as how well it does in the Jax matchup. But we know that Bin doesn't really care what the matchup is. He's just really, really good at Jax. I
was a T1 predictor. I was one of the ones who said I think it's 55-45. I think that their current form, even though they had that shaky loss domestically to KT Rolster right before flying over, I thought, okay, BLG looking a little bit rough around the edges. Knight in AD mids, not as dominant as he otherwise has been. But I look at this draft in Game 3, look at the setup, all the different types of engage, the follow-up damage, with the Jhin on the other side. I gotta say, Atlas, I'm really leaning BLG in this final draft. I think they got everything they wanted. The Jhin pick came out relatively early as well, wasn't hidden. And so they have the ability to now lock it down, blow it up. They've got the Rakan, they've got the Ashe, the Jax follow-up with that setup CC with Counter-Strike is so strong. And, you know, we talked about Bin's Camille. His Jax is also legendary.
Yeah.
I think T1 really taking a risky draft here with this one in the final game. Didn't really feel like it came all together for me.
I mean, it's true, but I love this top lane matchup just for one, just to like pull it aside, because it's Bin's Jax versus Zeus' Na. Like, this couldn't be more iconic unless you compare it to the last game, which was Camille versus the Aatrox. I think that this is getting a little bit more to ultra comfort between these two, so very excited to see what's going to happen there. Ona taking the Zyra, though, for one of the first times here. We saw it in game number 1, and it didn't quite work out, which is, I think, making us feel like it's not going to be quite as strong, but we know how oppressive it can be. And if you've been watching the LCK, you know that it is feast or famine. And we saw Canyon show the feast side. We saw Purshik discover the famine side. We'll see what it's going to be for Ona here, who we do trust on a lot of jungle picks. And the Bard for Keria, like, this guy is an absolute genius when it comes to utilizing a lot of the toolkits of this of these champions.
That's what I was
is certainly one of them.
I think he's really going to have a big role to play in this game. His ultimates are going to have to be huge, can definitely get them out of dodge, but also really help them set up for the Zyra engages. And in the lane, in the 2v2, he is going to be the one thing to stop the Ashe Rakan lane. He's going to be able to offer a little bit of healing, obviously a little bit of push, because if this Jhin gets dove early, if this Jhin gets collapsed on, the setup is there with the Rakan knockup for the Nidalee Spear, and they fall behind, this Jhin might be less than worthless moving into the mid and then late game, and that is a big concern. Guma, positioning is going to have to be everything on this Jhin.
I 100% agree. He's a fantastic Jhin player, though, and now it is time for us to get onto the Rift for the third game of this series. One team will be heading towards the semifinals, and one team will be going home. Not empty-handed. The hand's not going to be as full as their opponent, and their keys will be crushed as well. Part that I'm very much looking forward to. We'll see it's who's going to suffer and who is going to be victorious here in this game. As once again, of course, the LPL has been playing with the Fearless draft, so they're not used to seeing Tristana versus Corki every single game. Only generally in the first game, Wolf,
That's right.
is when that one comes out. But now we get treated to it every single game. We'll see who's going to be able to take it this side. Of course, I think in other series, we will see this matchup actually get looked at, but I think there's just a lot to ban between T1 and BLG. As Faker going to spot on, the bone plating will be taken down here as, all right, Faker going to get slowed down, does have to skill the rocket jump once again as Keria now going to be the one in trouble, and he's going to have to heal.
This is the power of Ashe Rakan at level 1. If Faker's got to take W, Keria's got to heal. Faker greeting a little bit there as well. Really did not want to lock in that rocket jump, was playing with fire, but ultimately takes the damage and then locks it in. So not only does he have to start it, which again isn't horrible, we saw him manage it earlier on in this series, but takes the damage there as well. So Knight can push aggressively. Faker?
Yeah, actually diving on in, trying to make sure that he's able to trade back with Knight, but still has to sacrifice a lot of his health bar, as we can see. Still just going to be farming. We do see this a lot in this matchup, but Knight really starting to utilize that health lead that he's picked up, and Ona might actually be called in. You can see he's moving towards the blue side jungle of BLG. A very difficult thing to do without lane priority, as we can see here. We know He is absolutely going to be fine because Shun nowhere in the area. But Faker down to about 100 health, and it is looking a little bit rough here for the little Gunner Yordle.
I mean, one more auto and Knight can flash kill him, so he has to play respectfully, and he's going to back off. This was, I think that rocket jump, that second one there, really hurting Faker as he has to back and try to catch this wave. Okay, fortunately for him, Knight will back off.
Yeah, at least for now. Faker going to be missing a little bit of CS here, as the minions do help him out with that last one. Checking in here on this bottom lane. We saw earlier on, BLG were able to put on a fair bit of pressure. Sneaking these volleys in through the wall there was Elk. Do like that cute little play. But T1, they have a fair bit of safety here in this lane, despite the fact that the CS numbers aren't looking too good. This is a big stacked wave moving towards them as Elkanon retain some control here. So it's not exactly T1 starting off on the right foot, as Faker going to dive in once again. The explosive charge going to go off, and he does get that reset. But still, this is looking scary for Faker in mid.
It certainly is. Shun also here, but not going to commit. Just going to go for a heal onto Knight. This is so awkward for Faker. Yeah. Against him, so really awkward for him to CS, or he may just be killed, but he doesn't want to back here and TP in. It'd be an awful scenario. So, you know, he's not down and out, but it's a huge edge here that Knight holds. So we're going to fight over Gromp.
Yep, Carrier moving in. That is going to be T1 securing the Gromp. As the grasping roots come on down as well, Shun able to grab the blue buff for himself, of course. Ona was able to steal his away, so it is going to be a 1-for-1 as far as those blues are concerned. But still, would have liked to get that 3-buff start there for Ona if it was possible. And On looking for an angle here by the looks.
Yeah, great start here in the bottom lane, using that Pride to grab blue. And here comes On a ward, though.
Yeah. Teleport back from Knight as he gets towards the mid lane. That picture-in-picture is Shun going to collect some shellfish for himself. That's going to be a double scuttle for the Nidalee. And yeah, scuttles definitely have some of the best mechanics as far as avoiding skill shots. So understandable that he's not going to be able to find that spear, as the popcorn chicken will be taken down there. Shun comes in to try and grab a couple, but Ona eats pretty quickly, and so he's going to be able to secure the majority. As here on the bottom side of the map, I'm just talking forever because there is just action all over the place. Elkanon taking a fair bit of damage as Magical Journey gets Carrier out of there. Meep Slap working out, and then not going to be responded to because he has that ability to move. So T1 able to answer back quite well. And this is an isolated 2v2 once again. They know what happened last time. Going to have to be definitely very respectful towards On and Elk here.
Even though Guma's Jhin has been relatively controversial in terms of his international performances on the pick, he's very confident on it. He's picked it up, obviously, in a lot of high-stakes moments like this one. And you can see he does know how to pilot the pick. So you will see a back here for Knight to grab plated steel caps and rush back to lane. No TP. Faker will be able to push this wave and might be able to deny a little bit of CS. Meanwhile,
yeah, there's a grand entrance. Carrier going to be the one knocked up here. As we can see, T1 still able to do a fair bit of work, but Carrier is the one that's taking the brunt of the damage. Needs to put down as much hot cocoa as he possibly can. Keep them in this, but they're running out of mana down here. Carrier looking for that reset first. We'll leave that cup for Gumushi as it is filled right there. And now Counter-Strike going to come on through. Zeus able to hop his way out of it. And here on the top side, it is once again Zeus with a lane lead. We'll just have to see what Bin's going to be able to do as this game goes on, because we know from last game and from just Bin in general that it is never a good idea to count him out.
No. I mean, Zeus has the range advantage in this matchup. He obviously has...
There's also a huge wave, so...
huge wave, level 6.
Not be that much of a lead.
Had Meganar. Like, Bin can't really do much here alone, and Zeus going to try to push him in with the last bit of that, but very scary prospect under the turret. Not quite able to get the plate. But the range advantage here in this matchup,
is the plate going to go down? Yeah, the plate goes down without Zeus actually being there, so that's kind of big here for BLG.
Definitely a big deny there. As he just doesn't get the advantages he was looking for on that play. Now we're going to fight for grubs.
Yep, first grub going to be taken here for Shun. That's all he really wants. Majority of the experience going to be available there. Spear is going to connect onto Carrier as Faker's taking matters into his own hands. Explosive charge onto Knight there. He does have the reset in hand as the Buster Shot gets the Corki out of there. Magical Journey from Carrier isn't exactly the greatest as he wants to find the Cosmic Binding. Doesn't get it as the Battle Dance is going to be there for On. And BLG still just looking for these spears, looking for the opportunity to go all in, but not actually pulling the trigger fully.
Oh, you could see this game is just on such a knife's edge right now. Every single exchange is so close to being swinging to one side's favor, but it is going to be the grubs that do go over to BLG. On and Shun are going to be able to take all three of these for a Jax, who's now proxying, as he was able to get a ton of prio up there top side. Feels fantastic. As Owner is going to come over here and Shadow Faker.
Yeah, there's the grand entrance. Faker gets out of it as the Grasping Roots connect on to on, but it's not going to do too much. Got to stop saying on to on, Wolf. That's it's a difficult one. As now, a little bit of a look towards the Dragon as the Flash Cosmic Binding's going to connect. Gumayushi trying to hold him in place, and now the curtains have been called. Shun going to get slowed down there as On. He's his big target. Fourth bullet is going to connect as the arrow sails by. It looks fantastic, doesn't do a whole lot. As T1 also not able to grab their prize as well, but they'll get themselves a Rift Scuttler, and that's at least something.
Crazy no flash is used from BLG despite Carrier looking for the play. On blocks the follow-up. Get down, Mr. President, as Elk looking for the 1v1.
Yeah, Gumayushi able to get into the fog of war there, into the brush. And now Carrier making his way down. Elk playing very aggressively. Dancing Grenade, fair bit of damage, is not able to keep him in place there. So T1 not able to kill Elk just yet. Still has cleanse, still has flash, is absolutely fine.
Yeah, no flash from Carrier on the earlier play, plus there's a cleanse available here for Elk, so there's no opportunity for Carrier to really make an impact there. Good read from Elk, knowing that he was ultimately going to be safe to take that, even if Carrier did, show up. Nice back tonight from On. On is having an amazing series. Alex.
Yeah, he really is.
We spent more time talking about it off the cast than we have on the cast, but the guy is just out of control. Good, stopping these backs, denying engages, the peel in games 1 and 2. Pretty incredible.
It's been very, very impressive. His Nautilus, incredible in the last game, and this game already showing that his Rakan is no slouch. And Elk will just have to see what he's going to be able to do on this Ashe as well. We know it's a pick that's been banned a whole lot, almost perpetually in both the LCK and the LPL. We haven't necessarily seen it have ridiculous performances, as, speaking of which, now it's Zeus that could be in trouble. Gets the double hop as Shun still looking for it. Gets the smite off. And still, Zeus going to have to flash to get out of the way. All right, they're going for a dive. They're going to be able to get that first blood, and Bin was capable of tanking up the turret, and if in doubt, just brute force it, Wolf.
I mean, classic Bin Shun. Who cares? It's an R under turret. Doesn't matter. You got the Counter-Strike set up, you buy enough time, and Shun has the damage output. Just with Faded Ashes alone, they get it done, and Zeus down a flash, killed here, and his lead is massively diminished, as it looks like we are back in a little bit of a technical issue for just a moment, but meanwhile, T1 are taking the Dragon. Very hefty cost for Shun to look for that play with Ben. As we take a look at this replay real quick. Zeus uses his hop here, scared of the follow-up. Spike comes through, the slow is there. The damage output is really scared of the follow-up from Bin. Decides to flash, but that flash early means he can't do anything here under turret. No hop available, and Shun and Ben read it so well.
And he also missed picking up his boomerang as well, so wasn't actually able to use that for the extra damage underneath the turret, and more importantly, the slow. So the juggling, absolutely fantastic. The fact that Bin knew that he's capable of utilizing his ultimate, tanking up the turret, and getting on in there. We'll have to make sure that we'll let you know as soon as we find out exactly what is happening. It's a little bit of a peripheral issue, as someone's mouse is having a bit of a problem, unless I misheard and there is a mouse in the building,
right?
Which there definitely is not, because people play with mice in their hands, and that's what it's going to be. So we're just making sure that everything is all right with the mouse, and getting it underway. So it's not the same situation that happened previously. It was a very long one. I think this one should be sorted out relatively quickly.
Yes. Player peripheral issues are usually very easy to fix, and players often have backup peripherals as well, so it's really usually a non-issue.
Yeah.
Of course, there have been times in esports where the peripheral issue creates a controversial moment because, you know, it might have affected one decision you make, but ultimately peripherals are your own responsibility.
Yep.
And it usually ends up being pretty easily resolved, as you say. Game state here feels pretty good for the side of BLG after that pick onto Zeus. You know, considering the damage that Zeus was trying to put on there in the top lane, had that big wave crashing through, missed the plate, has a significant CS lead, but a lot of the wind is out of his sails now. And, you know, I think the demise of Knight's mid prowess on 80 champions, I think, has definitely been overstated. When you consider how well he's been landing this game against Faker's rocket jump start.
And Faker has looked a little bit shaky as far as the performance in the early game is concerned, but we know Tristana can really ramp things up as you get further on into the game. We'll see whether T1 can hold themselves in it this time, because we need to see like a control of areas, right, with this composition. It's something that BLG had huge advantage in game number 2, and now it's T1's turn to try and utilize that with the Zyra, with all these plants, and also with the Jhin, with the Deadly Flourish, locking players down, as well as having the Bard there to isolate certain champions on the enemy team.
And it's no shade to Owner, but I feel like he hasn't had the impact on this Zyra just yet that we often see from players like Canyon, that we've seen from Shun, for example. Whereas the Nidalee, you know, we've always been touch and go in terms of the Nidalee here in the LCK. Shun's iconic pick, you mentioned it in the draft. But how he's utilized that bottom side pressure, how he's utilized Zeus trying to get advantages top side, his punish play has been great, his warding clean. He was able to react quickly to the blue buff taken away from him. He's playing the Nidalee around the pressure points they have on the map so incredibly well. This is what a good Nidalee game looks like. He is really showcasing what the potential of this pick is. And even though he didn't get the setup spear after the Counter-Strike, for example, wasn't able to quite line that up to be a big impactful moment, you can see what it can look like if an Ashe Arrow hits later on, and how much he's going to be able to control neutral objectives with that spear poke when we get to the late game. Something that there isn't really a whole lot of on the side of T1 poke-wise. So a little bit concerning potentially here. It does look like it's a Knight issue.
Yeah, it looks like Knight having a very good time while his mouse is getting repaired and sorted out and checked and everything like that, just to make sure that everything is in fact working.
You know, funny story about peripherals and mice.
Yeah.
The hardest ones to replace are the left-hand mice. Knight's, you know.
Oh, true.
The golden left hand. We've got to make sure he's got that working and set.
Maybe that's exactly why everyone brings their own spares. As you can see, Knight giving the thumbs up that everything is good to go, and refs will be able to unpause the game, I believe, relatively shortly, needing to get the sign-off there from T1 to make sure that everyone is ready to get into this game number 3. But yeah, no, maybe that was the reason why everyone had to bring their own backups instead of just going into the bargain bin of mice, because as soon as you are, and I'm left-handed, but I play with a right-handed mouse.
Same.
I think that I would be better at video games if I had have started off playing with my left hand.
Well, maybe
that's why I'm not a pro gamer, Wolf.
Maybe you and I'd be sitting where Knight's sitting now if we had just picked up the mouse in the left hand.
Should have realized that it's actually a superpower.
I'm also left-handed like you, and you know, everyone always told me, you know, mouse goes in the right hand. My grandfather was a left mouser.
Really?
Yeah. Every time I visited his house, he'd be like, "Oh, I got the mouse in the same place you like it, right?" But unfortunately, I always took it and moved it to the right side, and I would always, you know, leave it there on the right side when I left, forgetting that he'd always know when I went to use the computer.
Yeah, there you go.
Play a cheeky game because I'd leave the mouse on the right side by mistake. Didn't get away with it.
And it's a fun fact as well, for a little factoid for everyone at home, is that most of the people in the LCK on the commentary team are in fact left-handed. And it's just kind of weird. Statistically, that's not a normal thing. As T1 are going to be able to grab that dragon, as we were talking about. Jumping back into the game, ladies and gentlemen. It is almost a 1,000 gold lead for BLG. Nothing insurmountable at this stage, but still that element of control that they've been demonstrating throughout.
Let's set stakes here a little bit. You know, notice that Faker is nearly 400 gold behind. First blood went to Shun on that top side play, but he's also massively ahead in farm, even into a Zyra. And they ended up knocking Zeus out. His flash back available now, but man, the game state here is rough.
Ooh. That's a big old arrow flying towards Carrier, and that will land. Knight is able to get over the wall as well. Shun's able to take down the Bard, and Ona has to flash to get himself out of the way. Elk, man, the sniper from downtown going to be able to get a kill.
It's just that simple. I mean, the follow-up for the Ashe Arrow is there. You have a Recon, you have the Nidalee Spear, and this is why Ashe is so heavily banned right now in a meta that has so much CC.
Oh, okay, Bin has the Counter-Strike. Buster Shot comes in. That's going to answer the lead really, really well. But still, I think Bin should be all right. The curtain call, not going to get enough done. And he's able to walk it off with that Grandmaster's Might helping out.
Clean movement to get away there, despite T1's best efforts. Knight gonna grab an additional plate. These lane advantages really starting to stack up, as meanwhile up on the top side.
Yeah, Tempered Fate does come on down. Good Cosmic Binding there to connect onto On, who's taking a lot of damage. Elk still offering a lot back as well, as T1 do defend their outer turret and those underneath it. At the same time, Azaius does have Mega Gnar on the way, so he's feeling a little bit more frisky, able to get up towards this lane. But it feels like T1 a lot of answering and not a lot of dictating here in this game.
Shun also happily just taking these grubs in return, backs off of the top side play and says, well, we were playing for these anyways. That's going to be 6 grubs for the Jax. That's so deadly in a side.
Yeah.
Guma was able to pick up 1 plate bottom side. That's all T1 were able to get otherwise here, though. Faker, level advantage.
Yeah, and Knight, not a whole lot of mana to his name here as well, as the explosive charge will go off. And Faker just clearing out the rest of these minions, not looking to actually grab any kills or anything like that at this point in time. Of course he would if he could, but not quite able.
Yeah, Knight has TP advantage, so Faker just trading with him there is actually an advantage to Knight, as you mentioned, low on mana. Can just head straight back to the mid lane. Next objective is going to be a Hextech Dragon in 2 minutes and 30 here. Well, of course, Herald will be spawning 130 as well.
Yeah.
Portal combat for just a moment. And I want to see T1 take a decisive call on contesting the objective instead of just avoiding this Nidalee Jax, which it feels like they've been doing the majority of this early game. As Knight just continues to stack advantages, looking for even one more plate, won't quite get it this time.
Yeah, just playing with the turret range very effectively there as he walks his way out. And so BLG not able to get that third last plate.
Look at the lane assignment. They put Bin bottom side here. He didn't even teleport, so he has the TP to go top if he needs to. And he has 6 grubs, so given some time here, they need to answer this. Guma usually will, but this Jax on the side already this early in the game is such a big threat that T1 will have to respect. And it feels like just like game 2, I mean, it's not the same extreme advantage, but BLG just have control everywhere. Look at the deep wards here on the top.
Oh, that's a big old Gnar underneath the turret as Elk does immediately have to cleanse. Now over to get that follow-up, but still a lot of value there given to T1. With Flash and Cleanse both now being down for the 80 carry. Spear is going to connect though as Shun dives forward, looks for the pounce. Good flash from Carrier, gets him off to the side, but the Grand Entrance comes in alongside the quickness onto the Mini Gnar. Swipe not connecting though, and BLG not able to make that play work, but they still get rewarded with this free time in the top lane.
Free time in the top lane, turret plate's going over. Guma rotates mid to try to cover mid. Guess who's bottom lane with 6 grubs? It's Ben, I just mentioned it earlier, so he's going to put some pressure there. He has teleport, so it's really difficult for T1 to try to make a rotational punish play here on this top side turret take for BLG. They're getting plates here top side, nearly get the turret. Plates fade here, so Ben doesn't get that much gold, but given enough time with this turret, with the Void Grubs coming out, looks like he's just going to take the whole damn thing. And Atlas, this is such a fantastic early game for BLG.
And it's just playing the map as well. I mean, yes, they've had some fantastic plays outside of that, but even with some slight mechanical fumbles, it doesn't matter because they're making plays at the right times in the right places and putting their pieces down where they need to be. Like the game of chess that is this early game, it's being played beautifully here by BLG thus far. That being said, still some opportunities here for T1, and with the fact that there's an Ashe with 0 summoner spells as this Drake is coming up, it could be an opportunity for T1 to find something here. And they need to. They really need to start trying to move the needle in their direction. Otherwise, they're just going to start bleeding out.
The collector start here for Guma. Does have some really nice finishing power if they can set up the CC. There it is.
Grasping Roots comes down. That is a lot of damage onto the Nidalee, who pounces over the wall. Primal Surge gets that health bar back up again here for Shun. And T1 not able to lock him down completely as Faker going in, looking for Knight, who gets into the brush very nicely, and the Gatling gun really working out. Buster Shot gonna be used, and there's the flash forward. It's just too easy here for the golden left hand. And the turret gonna go down as well. Icing on the cake for BLG.
Clearly no mouse issues there. Faker making a missed call. And
Gumayushi also able to play with the Fog of War, but the ward goes into the brush. Now On looking to come in. Now the curtains have been called. Can they actually lock down any kills here as the Tempered Fate goes wide? The plants also not really helping out. As now On kind of looking to turn it here by the looks of things. T1 looking a little frazzled here in game number 3.
Yeah, I mean, so desperate here in this final game. Good footwork there from On and Elk to avoid everything. Tempered Fate does miss. Now Zayas is able to get the turret bottom side, so they are going to come up with one big win here on the map, but this mid turret's going to go down in exchange, and potentially more here. Shun also taking away some of these camps here, taking the Raptor camp away, setting up more deep vision here behind the Baron. They were also able to pick up the Rift Herald. So again, this gold lead is significant, but more significant than the gold lead is the threat of the side laning Jax, the threat of the map control that BLG has had really all 3 games. When they get this much control, T1 look like they have no options. You're still playing a Jhin that's very fragile, now down both summoners. Just no way to get out of these engages, and there's just so many of them. Faker's mistake topside as well, really compiling the lead that Knight has now. 1.4k ahead, Shun 1.2k ahead in terms of the gold advantages here. And yes, Zeus has a lead over Bin, but that's not going to change his ability to crush turrets, his ability to follow up on CC.
And that's been halved as well. It was to the tune of about 20 CS. Now that is starting to evaporate, and now Zeus is under fire. On is going to get over that wall, finds the hop grand entrance, doesn't quite get in there, but the quickness is still going to charm him, and there is the counter-strike. Bin going to be able to take down his opposite number, 101 now on the Jax, and that was the strong point.
That was the strong point. Now, all 5 lanes with the lead. He picks up the turret, picking up a kill. Carrier.
Magical Journey gets himself out. That's going to be fine. Just some barred things, but still, this is an inner turret being sieged at 17.5 minutes. And BLG, they do not want out of this tournament. Arrow going to be sailing in, goes wide, but it still just guarantees that this inner turret is going to fall. And T1, they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to do it fast if they want to stay in this game.
Yeah, and they look helpless in this one. And I feel like this series may be remembered as a complete stomp, even though T1 won game 1, and they had the cool Zeri top. Everything was unique. It looked like, wow, T1's got this great meta read moving into this tournament. But the next 2 games have just looked like otherwise a complete wash. It's not over until it's over. But with a Jhin sitting on 1.5 items in this game against an Ashe who sits on the similar level of items right now, basically on parity, has so much utility, it's going to be rough. At least the Tristana is getting some alone time with this topside turret.
Yeah. Ona also off to the side here. Will get spotted by the Hawkshot as On playing some defense with Bin, and they will be able to save this outer turret for the moment. T1 backing away. Deadly Flourish goes wide. Cosmic Binding is decent. No follow-up onto that one as now T1 cut their losses, move back into their jungle. And Kerry actually looking for Elk here. Tempered Fate is going to connect. The Cosmic Binding is so good as he takes matters into his own hands. And now Faker's able to help lock down that kill. There are the resets. Special delivery of Knight as well. As T1 in this team fight looking good, but in comes Bin. Can they actually deal with it? Knight now getting taken down solo. There's a shutdown gold given over to Gumayusi. We said they had to come alive, and I think they may just have.
I think they just have. 2 kills to Guma. The snipe coming out. We're not done yet.
Oh, Carrier finds a meep slap. As Shun, he has to flash. Deadly Flourish, too scary, coming through the floor. And T1, they're going to augment this with an outer turret take as well.
Suddenly the map is all opened up. Kills, turret going down, and BLG trickle into the waiting arms of T1. Overconfident on their ability to turn. All starts off with Knight going low, right? Bin is able to get the stun here onto Zeus, but that's the go button for T1. Knowing Counter-Strike is down, they can continue to push the issue. On is just trying to sacrifice himself to save the rest of his team, but even Shun has to flash. Mid turret's down. Gold lead here, still BLG's, but T1, signs of life.
Yep, they've also managed to take 2 of these Drakes as well, and
it's Infernal Soul 3 for 3.
It's just triple Infernal Soul. That's just what we're going to do here. Maybe the weather does actually play a part because, you know, you remember at the beginning of summer, we had some cloudy days, a lot of cloudy Drakes and Ocean Drakes and things like that. This time around, it is all fire for our first series at EWC. And I think T1 going to be pretty happy with being able to threaten that as... Okay, Bin just waiting, not giving away his position there. As Carrier moves in.
He's able to pick up IE off of that last fight.
Collector A is a big spike.
Yeah, I mean, he is going to be hitting really hard if they can set up more engages, if they can punish BLG. Again, Carrier, the man in control of those setups. Zeus, meanwhile, you know, pushed in the top lane. Just farming it out. Hasn't had as big of an impact as Bin has, but Faker once again, given time in a side lane, Tristana could do a lot. Pushing that top turret now, bottom side here, forcing a TP.
Yeah, getting that teleport from Knight, actually a big deal. As now Bin moving towards Carrier. He's very quick with the amount of meeps that he has picked up, or the chimes at least. Counter-Strike going to be utilized. Deadly Flourish going wide there as BLG do start off this dragon. It's them on the back foot, though, as this Rift Herald getting a little bit confused about where it wants to go. T1 holding onto the Dragon 4 now, but Knight on that flank angle on moving in.
Zeus doesn't have TPs, dealing with this Herald, so BLG have full control. Faker.
Yeah, there's another charge as the inner turret just barely survives. Faker, though, like you say, in trouble. Able to get a few autos on, down to 50%, but Faker holding onto that rocket jump. See whether he's going to be able to utilize it. Tempered Fate not going to find the mark. Neither does the Cosmic Binding.
Zeus back with Narbar too. BLG need to be very careful about how they approach this.
Yeah. Zeus definitely going to be turning Mega here, so BLG could just bide their time, but it looks like they want to start this one up with that control of the area that they do have. Narbar down to 50%. T1 going to have to pull that trigger relatively soon as Spears not quite connecting onto that Gnar. And you can see BLG, they're not wanting to do anything until there's a mini Gnar once again. And now it comes through. The Dragon going to be picked up. On in actually a lot of trouble as the curtains have been called. On just going to be sniped. No one was there to protect him. And now Elk is going to get slowed down. Shun is here with the rest of the team, but Bin is nowhere in sight. Everyone's a squishy, and there's a deadly flourish onto the Nidalee. Now the teleport's coming in. Bin's going to be able to join the other three. The BLG are getting closed in on, and this is not their side of the map.
Certainly not.
This is getting real dicey. There is another snare as the Cosmic Binding locks down Knight. He's the target, and the Hyper Proc is going to do it. The Gnar into the wall, the wall up there from Zeus, and he hits that Mega Gnar at exactly the right time. And T1, they just team fight so beautifully, even with backs to the wall.
Backs to the wall. The teleport comes through from Bin. He wasn't there. That was a big part of why T1 was able to secure the Dragon. He was so close to getting TP. He wanted to put some pressure on in mid and potentially head topside, get some push going, and just leave the Drake to T1. But as BLG close in and he teleports over, T1, very careful team fight there, so measured. And Gumayusi doing the big damage. He went from irrelevant to 305 on this 2-item spike, and now they're going to get Baron. They take a gold lead for the first time in this final game. Zeus in a side, and T1, a huge comeback here in this final game. We had nearly written them off, but all it takes is one good team fight, one pick moments before. Never count T1 out.
Absolutely, and I'm feeling like maybe it was just abiding their time, but it was also a looking for that opportunity. And BLG, a team that's so good at not giving them.
Look at this position.
But once that opportunity is there, T1 strikes so well. And these shots from the curtain call from Gumayusi, absolutely fantastic. And I'm not a Jhin fan, but I am now.
His positioning was so good, and they have Zeus to protect from the bin engage. On was too far away to punish. Zeus says, get back over here, grabs that leaping Nidalee, and nothing else can do at the end. You could see desperation here on the faces of BLG. This game was completely theirs, but it is very quickly T1 favored now.
Oh, Cosmic Binding not going to quite land as the Tempered Fate does go down, but Elk not going to be too worried about it. Keria still just going aggressive. Bin's just going to kill him. Not entirely sure what the game plan was there, but Shun's still going to take so much damage. Faker just straight up Goomba stomping him. As another bullet, there's the flash from On this time. He's going to be respecting, and now the quickness comes in. Faker with the sickest flash, and the double knockback from the Gnar is going to be there. Still, T1 losing as much as they're giving here, as this game's getting bloody.
It's getting bloody. We're doing a little bit of mechanics testing here, limit testing, and we're getting deep into these fights. There's a nice try there, but it's not enough from Faker. Root here on tonight. The turret will still fall as this gold lead for T1 now ballooning into 3,000. It's this time their sole point here for Infernal Soul. This fight gets really awkward, really messy after Keria goes down. They trade the kill onto Shun, and Guma forces the flash. His aim on these curtain calls has been fantastic, but then this, unfortunately, is a step too far. On trying to save the play with the re-engage there, but fails.
And it was almost super sick from Zeus, but the quickness from On actually delays the Gnar so that he's not able to get 3 into the wall. And I don't know whether he intended it, but honestly, I'm going to give it to him because it was very, very well timed to make sure that it wasn't just everyone destroyed.
He's just so down to sacrifice himself to try to make
the biggest On fans. I'm happy for it, though. I'm down. He's having such an incredible series.
Yeah, he really is. It's not over yet, but it is certainly T1 favored. In 75 seconds, that Dragon is going to spawn, and BLG need to be there. They have a 6 scrub Jax. Jax has teleport, but unfortunately they don't have enough control over the map to utilize it to pressure T1 very easily. And there's no outer turrets of gold to threaten. It's going to take a very deep push in order for Bin to make that happen. And I think he wants to rather group with his squad here and contest for Prio. But if T1 are able to get the smite on this dragon, they have so much map control. They have a Zyra that's super big.
Look at these items, Wolf.
3 item spike for Faker at the same time.
And the rapid fire cannon comes in for Gumayushi as well, so he is he's doing a lot of work. I mean, there is a lot of power with the 3 items that he has picked up already. And so T1 feeling like they're in a pretty good spot. Grasping Root's not going to connect on. As I say it again. And now setting up 25 seconds.
No TP flank angle here for Bin. He's just going to have to play this one straight up. There's no flanking here. They're going to have their eyes on you the whole time. Zeus, a level up, can just track him and zone him out. This gives Guma so many opportunities to set up for a big ultimate here. All that poke. Faker.
Arrow going to connect, but it's a great buffer right on top of the hot cup of cocoa. You love to see it there as Faker gets himself into the right position. Grand entrance avoided by the magical journey. A lot of cooldowns being thrown out. Not a lot of joy being picked up from either side as far as initiating a fight. As T1 moving towards this dragon that has just spawned. Infernal Soul on the line, the first one for T1 for this series.
Faker can burn this down so quickly. BLG have to be quick.
Yep, all of them do. Stranglethorns in hand here for Owner as well as they manage to hold them all down. There's the Infernal Soul, and the curtains are being called now as well. There's the Tempered Fate. It does get the stun on tonight as Valkyrie's now going to be utilized. Magical Journey comes on through as there's the Gnar. Zeus very delayed once again, but it's a bloodbath, and it's being delivered by T1. Been trying to get what he can done, but the Buster Shot's too good. Is this going to be a pentakill for the GOAT? No, it's not, because Gumayushi, he wants his piece of the pie as the Raptors don't get angry at Elk, but he is still running the wrong direction. And I think this hunting party from T1 will be able to take down their prize. Unless, well, Magical Journey does come on through. Volley from the brush gives away his position, and Elk is buying a lot of time.
They're not losing any time here in the mid lane, though. T1 just pushing it down right away, just taking this inhibitor. Elk buying a lot of time.
Yeah, Grasping Root's going to be there, and Owner gets the kill.
I mean, it's just going to delay his respawn ultimately here because T1's still going to grab this inhibitor. There's no Baron to take, so they don't delay anything like that. As On's looking for a punish here, but T1 super measured in their approach to this inhibitor. Take it down, back away. Topside control is theirs. And once again, a beautiful team fight from T1, despite BLG's best efforts and Elk's positioning in that fight. His kiting, his cleanse, not used, not needed because his flash was so great there. And I mean, you watch Elk in this fight as well. Look at how well T1 set up for this. Look, they're trying to push Zeus back. Gnar only hits on. Look at Elk at the top side of this fight. Kiting back super clean. But Faker gets on top of him, does that damage. Bin's isolated, and Guma is sitting at full health in all of these team fights. There's so much peel for him. He's got so much range to work with. Elk, best attempts to try to delay the inevitable, but the mid inhibitor is going to go down. Infernal Soul, now T1's before the Baron spawns in 10 seconds here. As you can see, BLG rapidly trying to group up to get that prio for this.
Yeah.
They take a miracle, though, to secure it. 5,000 gold down.
Yeah, last-ditch effort as the arrow is going to sail through T1. Opportunistic plays is exactly what BLG are going to be looking for. As Zeus doesn't want to wait for that. Curtains are going to get called once again. First bullet doesn't land, but the second one rings true. Third one down, and On takes the fourth. And now engaging, it's going to be a little bit more difficult until that Warmogs gets some work done. The flash forward, and Carrier once again takes matters into his own hands. The flash over from Faker, and he will wait for that Zhonya's to wear off. On now, having to battle dance his way out. Owner is absolutely unstoppable, and Faker, he's just diving in. He doesn't even mind if Bin takes him down, but that's not even going to happen as the double kill comes in as the Stranglethorns come down. There is the ace, and T1 will keep themselves alive here at EWC, and unfortunately the keys for BLG not looking like they are going to survive. I think it's going to be hydraulic press for them.
T1 in a 30-minute game, an impressive comeback here, and the one that matters the most, keeping their hopes alive in this tournament. They didn't make it easy. That certainly did not give the fans hope in the early part of this third game. Game 2 was rough. Game 1, they almost lost control, but what a fantastic series to start off EWC's League of Legends, and T1 will be the victors, the ones to walk away. Signs of relief on the coaching staff and the players' faces. They knew they were just one mistake away from walking out this tournament the losers. For BLG, they're going to have to earn their right to return for 2025.
Exactly right, and it's a bit heartbreaking, right, to have to say goodbye to BLG, an absolute titan of a team. But sometimes these draws, and especially when it's single elimination like this, that's just how it falls, right? And if you're going to win the whole thing, you have to beat absolutely everyone, right? You have to beat the best. And T1 with another opportunity, BLG unfortunately going home early. Not empty-handed, but not as full-handed as they would otherwise like to be. And also not able to keep that key alive for too long.
T1 crossed the stage first, the first victors of our quarterfinals here at EWC. Again, a bow to the crowd, but I think also to their fans back home in Korea, saying, look, this one was close. I'm sorry for making you worry.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they are able to take it.
A lot of drama in this one, Wolf, even within that final game. But now it is time to throw it over to Kangas on stage with Zeus.
We're going to hear his thoughts after that match, but first, we have to ask the captain of BLG to please present the key of BLG to Zeus, as you were able to finally defeat them in a best of this year.
네, 이제 BLG의 빈 선수가 이제 제우스 선수에게 이제 키를 가져다 줄 것입니다. 아, 저기 저쪽으로 가져다 줄. 아, 네.
All right, Zeus, you finally were able to take down BLG. I know it's been a long history between your two teams so far this year. What was the difference this time around from MSI?
일단은 BLG를 상대로 드디어 격파를 하게 되셨는데 제우스 선수 BLG를 이렇게 마침내 MSI를 뚫고 이제 MSI의 그 복수를 하시게 된 소감이 어떠신가요?
일단 사실 마지막 판도 좀 많이 불리해져 있었는데 그래서 게임이 좀 힘들 줄 알았는데 생각보다 너무 팀원들이 잘 해줘가지고 저는 그냥 하던 대로 하니까 이겨서 너무 좋았던 것 같습니다.
So even for the last match, it was a tough start, and I thought I was going to lose, but our teammates and I have done better. So I think we finally overcame.
Now we saw a fun pick in game one with the Zeri in top lane, and I know that this is a new patch that you're playing on. How has preparation been for this event for T1?
이제 1세트 때 제리도 꺼내드셨고 이제 패치 이후로 좀 많은 변화들을 이제 좀 준비하신 게 많은 것 같은데 좀 어떤 준비 과정이 있으셨는지 궁금합니다.
일단 제리는 사실 크산테 카운터 픽으로 좀 옛날부터 많이 해왔던 픽이라서 되게 자신 있게 좀 제가 어필해서 꺼냈던 것 같고 막상 대회에 오니까 좀 생각보다 저는 것 같아가지고 근데 그럼에도 불구하고 너무 팀원들이 잘 키워주고 잘 해줘서 이겼던 것 같아요.
Well, I mean, for the Zeri pick, of course, I thought it was a confident pick because it was an obvious counter to the Cassante. And even though I picked it, but I was kind of shaking because it was a little nervous. But our teammates helped me getting through that.
Well, final question. Clearly you weren't nervous playing your comfort pick in the Gnar. So my question for you now is, are you the best Gnar in the world?
그리고 나를 3세 때서 픽을 하셨을 때는 되게 자신감이 있어 보이셨거든요. 그래서 묻겠는데 지금 세계 최고의 나르라고 자신할 수 있으신가요?
네, 저는 제가 나른을 세상에서 제일 잘한다고 생각하고 근데 좀 버스 잘 탔네요. 그래도 네.
Well, I can't say I'm a best Gnar in the world so far, but for that match, I think I got carried a bit.
I think so. Thank you so much, Zeus, for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for making so much noise one more time. And we're going to be right back with more Esports World Cup featuring League of Legends after this break.